Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Bucket and Hoosier here. I'm Mr. Hoosier, and he is Bucket. And obviously, Bucket is running tonight's stream. That's why be a little slow going. It's Bucket. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. I'm just trying to check the volume levels because I have no idea if people can hear you. Dude, the last time I streamed must have been 6 months ago for this channel, and maybe even myself.
Ever?
I can't even tell you. Anyway, it's good to be set back up. And yeah, man, just getting over the fact that there's no more Rocket League to watch. For 2 straight weeks, I was able to like turn on Rocket League in the living room or wherever and just have it on in the background or whatever I was doing throughout the day. And I've been getting up super early. Like, I'm trying to transition my life from a night life to a morning life because I want more hours back, right? Like there's a thing that says if you get up an hour earlier every day, right? Just if you usually get up at 8 and you get up at 7, if you usually get up at 7, you get up at 6, like you get almost 30 something days back in a year. And that to me, like, just blew my mind.
That's wild to think about.
So now I get up, I'm actually getting up 2 hours earlier every day because I want to get more done. And I get more workout in. I go walk with my oldest and I go for a mile walk as soon as I get up. Like, it's the first thing we do. He's already up. He's been a morning person since he was a child. He's the only one. He's super self-sufficient in the mornings, but now I get a full 25 minutes just to hang out with him and just walk and talk. And it's really, really been beneficial. But then I get home and I work out, and then I'm like accomplished already, and now I got a whole bunch of stuff done. Then I take the kids to school rather than that being one of the first things I do in the morning. So my nightlife has been dwindling, but my morning
I can see that.
my morning person is very productive.
No, that's really good. Yeah, I'm. If whoever is watching, if you happen to notice, I am not in my normal location. I'm on vacation right now, and so yeah, I have not been getting up early like you have. I have been partaking in more beer drinking and fishing, and yeah, everything else right now. So I will reset my life come Thursday. I think that's when we go home. So a much different week for me, but kind of the same. Like, been watching, 2 weeks of Rocket League, catching as we were traveling over here to the West Coast, and was doing the same. My aunt and uncle, nothing would be on in the mornings after like normal news talk and everything. Like, hey, do you mind if I put this on? They're like, no. And kind of experiencing more like what you have with your family recently of I have it on. They're just like, what is this? And sitting there kind of paying more and more attention to it. And got talking to my uncle about like the money side of it, how advertisers and how it's all structured and everything, how it makes money. So yeah, it's been a real interesting conversation for like the last week of an outsider's perspective of Rocket League.
Listen, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I have it on. I literally in the living room. I would love to sit down on my computer and join people on Discord and join communities and listen and that, but it's awesome. Like, where I sit down and watch TV to have the surround sound on and it blasting in my living room and my family coming in and out. And then they sit down and they watch it with me and they are interested in what's happening. It's like when she's watching some desperate rich people show and I'm like, or some murder mystery and I'm standing in the corner like, your show's dumb, but I like keep paying attention, and then finally like I migrate over to the couch and I'm like, why is she yelling about that? Because you know what I mean? Like, you get into it a little bit for no reason. But they do the same thing. Like, Laura, she knew some of the players' names. She's seen some of the teams before. She knew. She's like, oh, I recognize that guy with the mustache. Talking about Vatira. She's seen him so many times now over the past year or two because I have it on in the living room, and it's not a video game where you have to know everything about the game. You can just sit down and watch it casually and understand it, but there's less casual fans than you would assume. And I don't know why there's that gap there.
I just think they haven't found I don't know, it goes back to kind of what we've always been talking about, right? And how their reach is. And right now their reach is just to Twitch and YouTube. Um, Outside of that, no one really knows that it's going on. No one knows what the price pools are and how big they are. So I think we still don't know how to bridge that gap, but we'll get to it at some point of actually bridging it. But it is fun for the avid fans like us to be able to share our experiences with people who are just finding out about it. And just finding out, um, we called it. You said my prediction was not very juicy, but it was Zen tournament. It was Vitality's tournament to lose, and by God, did they show up? Vitality looked very strong in the entire tournament. One split, it looked kind of rocky there against K Corp, with Zen having the own goal, but then able to bring it back, showing his real strong mental strength there. But outside of that, I mean, Falcons had a very good showing. We had even talked about last week. Mina was gonna look, we thought, good. But really, I think the team of the tournament, I think, shocked everybody is Space Station. Space Station looking very strong and resilient after making their big roster moves and not having Daniel anymore. I was actually, as someone who was very upset with them booting Reynolds and going, "Oh, this team is chalked." To see them have the performance that they did, I was very glad to see that. It was very impressive from them.
Are you becoming a Space Station fan again? I know when it all happened, you not only did a lot of people write them off, right? Like, oh, they're not going to be half the team they were, but they also thought some of the things happened so negatively that people just couldn't back them anymore. It felt like the conversation around them turned and they were up against the wall with fan base. But now it seems like they're winning people over with their play. I mean, just being in the
That
spotlight.
that squad and the way that they looked throughout the tournament, like you could tell how much work they really put in from spring to Worlds. Um, I think that's what's really won me over because I've always been a big proponent of, let's stop swapping player, like who's the hot player and just trying to grab them. Let's build a team. And I feel like from spring, going into spring and Worlds, they really built a team and it showed. Arsenal definitely stepping up as the leader, um, which it kind of bummed me out. I saw some people on Twitter talking about how, oh, Arsenal needs to go. He's the worst person on that team. It's like, he may not be the best mechanical one on the team, but he definitely has something there to contribute to the team and help those two players play at their potential. So, and I have to admit, Sad Jr., that dude was the sharpest dressed looking coach on the stage. He really brought out the professionalism up there on stage. So it was I don't know, it was awesome to see. I'm very glad to see Space Station get to where they got in the tournament. As far as the other NA teams, G2 they ran to a brick wall when it came to BDS and Gen G. I mean, Gen G never seemed to have the answer for K Corp, and Vatira looked like he was starting to really find his stride. I'm actually really bummed that K Corp and Vitality was a semifinals matchup, especially with how the finals went.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to see them out so quickly, right?
Especially because how good that match was. Like that was a tightly contested match back and forth.
Anybody could have at that point in the tournament too, right? We're at the cream of the crop right there, right? So
Right.
everyone knew. I mean, it's not just going to be what they've done before, how good they've played. It's that moment. Is the moment too big for you? And I thought that was where you said it as soon as Zen got some little piece of uh, the he owned gold and he got a little adversity, you're like, okay, how's he going to respond to this? And his response was overwhelmingly great. I mean, how can you even knock anything this kid did after or before that? It was unbelievable. So the moment was not too big for him, and some guys it was, right? So it
Right.
just
I mean, I think
it just happens that way.
Hootie who was there at the tournament, he had a really good tweet where he saw Zen in like an elevator and he was like, "Man, you're the best." And Zen's response to him was, "No, our team is the best." I'm like, "Dude, how can you not like that from a 16-year-old right now?"
Yeah.
Like he's literally a mechanical god at the game. I forget, it's the one shot, asked for, and everybody lost their minds on it. And it's he goes up, hits it, comes off the back out. He comes off the backboard, and even the way like he turns the car and gets the shot, like you would have thought nobody has that ball. And just his mechanical ability, he showcased it. But to at the end be there and be like, no, we're a team. I think not only shows where he's at maturity wise, but how well Farah has built that team. And it goes to Farah, Alpha 54, Radossin. Like they're a team, and it's very refreshing to see after everything we heard this last year of people's egos getting in the way, players not wanting to actually buy in. I just want to get on a team that's winning. And I think they showed us this, like, hey, this is the recipe and this is how you move forward. But
What
what I mean,
what do you take from all that? From everything that like what do you take from all that?
well, it's kind of a mixture with how the entire week went, right? There's there's that at the end, which is a fantastic cherry on top for Rocket League in general. But then you go back just a couple of days before that, and you got Appjack sitting um, in the press room, and someone asked him a question about NA talent, and he comes out and says NA has no talent. So I don't know. You have this one side that's like, all right, cool. If you really build a team and you actually work together, you can achieve it. But then does NA actually have the talent to do it? Which we talked with Raw Greg. Raw Greg had kind of asked the same question, and he was more on the side of Appjack of not really thinking the talent's there. But I think it's just because the talent is um, they haven't bought into a system where they're actually going to try and improve. There is the mentality right now of just going out and getting your check, being a typical, right? Um, we all heard from Rolled is that Sipical didn't necessarily want to retire yet because it's an easy check. And in my opinion, from what we saw on that in both games, both matches that they played, he was not in it at all. Like literally, something would happen, he was just kind of like, meh, like all right, well shoot. And after seeing that, like I kind of felt bad. I did kind of feel bad for First Killer because it was like, well, yeah, maybe his dad is being in the way, causing problems, but at this point, too, it doesn't feel like First Killer has teammates around him that actually want to be better. Atomic was, I mean, he was farming impressions on Twitter, but he was, joking. I think it was after their first match. He was joking about, oh, I finally got SSL rewards. Like, I just got it. And it was like, you should, to me, like that shouldn't even be a joke that you do at that point. Because I said from the get go when all that stuff came out with Rolled is either we're going to see a FaZe team that completely collapses, or we're going to see a team that rallies together and truly improves and shows us what they could be. And they did not do the latter at all. They just completely imploded.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty for them, huh? I mean,
Not even close to pretty.
What they get
But they got
4-1
bounced
by
super.
someone, didn't they? I'm pulling up the
Looking at it right now, so FaZe finishes 13 to 16th, and they got where'd they go out? So they were in the bracket. They got 4-1 by FaZe, and they dropped down and got beat 4-2 by Moist. And to me, that's the if you want to take something away from this
by Space
season,
Station. FaZe got 4-1 by
yeah,
Space Station. That's it. Yeah.
Space
I knew it
Station,
was
yes,
4-1 and it was I know there were a lot of I don't remember if they were all overtimes, but they were all like 1-goal games. But you have to win those 1-goal games, right? Like that's the thing. You're not going to blow these teams out, especially Space Station. The way that they played, didn't someone get defensive player from Space Station? I think 2 of the players were on the docket for that.
Defensive went to Vatira,
Oh,
and then
okay.
offensive MVP went to LJ.
Yeah, okay. So even better. But I think they had some. I thought they had some defensive people, some people on that list too for the team.
I think old Coxer was up there for defensive.
But that's the way it goes. I mean, you're going to get 4-1 and 4-2, and you're done. You're just done.
Right.
And
Yeah.
could
So
you expect anything else? I mean, we had 5. NA had 5 teams go into the group
yeah.
stage,
Mm-hmm.
and then only 3 made it through to the playoffs. G2 Space Station Gen G.
Correct. I
So
mean, if we're talking about NA, like complexity, they put up one hell of a fight against K Corp.
they did.
They were like their showing was nothing to. They gave it their all. That is also like a full complete team. Are they missing? Like, do they have some work to do? Obviously, they didn't win, but that is still a strong group of players. Unlike what we saw with FaZe. FaZe is they're it's chalked. Um, I can 100% say you won't see that roster back again. There's going to be some change there. So, and whether it's there's even a FaZe, everybody's I saw on Twitter it was the talks of is there even going to be a FaZe roster in Rocket League next year? Um, which that'll be interesting to see if they're not a part of the quote unquote league at all.
They've had some bad
Um,
publicity lately. It just
just a little bit.
yeah, and that's can sometimes spiral you out. Speaking of
Yeah, because
which, G1
yeah.
too, right?
Oh my God,
We talked
that's
about
a
them a little bit last
mess.
week, but they're still fighting that or still trying to figure out what to do.
So supposedly they did come out and pay. I don't know if they paid everybody, but I know there were payments that went out. The talk of the town, though, was not long after that. They made some huge announcement about gaming like arena facility. Where is it at? I gotta find it.
Gaming arena facility.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, G1 official.
What on Twitter?
Yeah, it's on Twitter. They had announced it. Oh, did they remove it already?
the Switch. There we go. It was just from the Switch.
Is it there now? Oh no.
I just switched it over to test it out. If you missed it, I never stream. So I'm just messing. But yeah, that's my.
Oh man.
It was 2 minutes, Hoosier.
That was longer than 2 minutes.
No, it wasn't. It was when I put the thing on.
Oh, well, I hope so.
It was for sure.
All right. So as I was
I
saying,
switched the scene, and I forgot to unmute that scene.
oh, so yeah, G1 announcing that they're going to open this huge facility in East Texas and or East Congress District of Austin, Texas. So how do you go from we're not paying people, oh wait, now we'll pay you, to oh yeah, we're doing this? Like they just have a real bad look right now.
What is it with orgs where what is the current climate out there? Are they running businesses? Are they a sports team? Are they player first? I think the identity of these orgs within specific esports is just lost, right? And you want to be the best of both worlds. You want to be player first and you want to make money for everyone, but I think you have to find your identity and start building at it. I think that's what V1 did a good job of, right, over the last couple of years, and some other orgs. But some of these orgs, just anyone can start an org, well, I mean, right? You have some money and you start it.
Right. You have to have some sort of revenue stream coming in if you're going to offer players, content creators, and staff contracts. You have to have some sort of income, which
it's sponsorships if mostly.
Right. And I don't know. I think that's the part that you and I have been struggling with trying to figure out is, yeah, where do they get the money from? Where are the sponsorships coming in? We've talked with Wolfie. Wolfie says it had gotten tough in the last 6 months to secure sponsorships. So if you're not drawing in the views, but it just kind of baffles you on why are people, from a moral standpoint, why are you offering up contracts if you are not for sure going to be able to pay them? Like it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it kind of does. You build something with the hopes of, with analytics that say if we do this, we're going to make this much, right? Like businesses run that way. They assume, and if they don't make it, they have to, pivot. But these pivots and non-transparency and the cultures being built, that's the important part. That's how you know if you've got a good one or not, right?
I guess that's what I guess I more pivot to. It wasn't like they weren't paying, they paid, and all of a sudden they came up with this huge idea. They were already working on this idea. So you couldn't even cover the first part of your balance sheet, which is paying the people that are supposed to help bringing you in cash. But you have ideas for doing, I don't know. I see why the Rocket League Players Association is now becoming a thing. But I don't know, you can have a Players Association, but there's no formal governing body.
It's so crazy out there. In
like I had brought up with Greg. I had asked Greg, who is the person, who's the mouthpiece of doing this? And he rattled off the name. Like, I've never heard that name. I've never heard any actual commissioner or a director of Rocket League Esports who's the guiding light, and telling, like, making sure everything is good. So yeah, it just leaves it open for things like G1 to happen, which I hope G1 does get all this stuff worked out and makes a better Professor Sports. Like, what's going on, dude? If you'll do it, I'm sure you would do an amazing job at it.
It's
actually, now that he's in here,
business and video games are still,
they don't go hand in hand
compared to a lot of industries out there. And I'm not talking video games in the sense of retail. I'm talking video games in the sense of content and the esports and the big business that sports are, it's still pretty infant right now. I mean, there's still a lot to be learned. And again, I go back to, I've worked for startup companies before. I've worked for companies where they said, we got to find money somewhere. You know, we might have to take haircuts, or we might have to do this, or we might have to do that. And some of them are transparent, and some of them are able to weather the storm, and some of them are able to get that big payday, and some of them aren't. But the companies that you don't hear about the negativity are the ones that are transparent, or the ones that give you as much information as they can, or they involve you in decision making, or they allow you, you know, some future equity in trade for nothing now. Like, there's a lot of things that these guys can do, and it's not ignore it and the problem will go away. That's never going to be the case. And that's what it seems like happened here. They just said, let's just keep pumping and maybe something will happen. We have all these things working in the background, and not tell anyone. And then it just comes to fruition one day, and you got to pay the piper. I mean, you have to.
Right. At some point you do. And kind of like Big Fan says, and you have said it as well, this is still very young, right? And in 5 to 10 years, we all hope that it'll be more established and it'll be more watched and enjoyed by the general public to be able to generate that revenue. But right now, yeah, I'm sure it is rough in the streets. I couldn't imagine trying to do that right now, especially with what players are expecting to get paid from the stories that we've heard, and how much they're expecting.
The benefit is there. The content is there. The like draw is there. It's just there. It's not catching for some reason. Like, the wheel is spinning and it's just not catching. I don't understand it. They have the product. Because listen, I tried to watch some other esports tournaments this weekend just to like compare. Fortnite, for instance, was on, and I turned it on, and everyone was just sitting in a box, and the map was getting smaller, and there was 30 teams left or something crazy, and they were all just sitting in a box waiting, and I couldn't watch it for like 5 minutes. It was so boring. There's no product there. They have nothing exciting. But you turn on Rocket League and you have it on, and it can draw people in. You have to get, I don't know what it is, why it's not catching, but there's something to it.
So I remember when Fortnite blew up, and leading up to their one big massive tournament that they had that Booga won. It was, I don't know, it was a spectacle every week, right? Like, they were doing these weekly tournaments, and you could watch every perspective if you knew how to pull it up on Twitch. And they did a really, they captured it really well. And it was more of also the personalities behind it that were playing in it. Everybody was an established personality. Right now, we don't have established personalities. We don't have as well-known established personalities, but we're getting there, right? Like,
or
right now,
stories or rivalries or anything to like make something.
Correct. Like Zen and Vatira, that was a storied rivalry for this season, because Vatira was on top, and then all of a sudden Zen comes through. But I would say another one that is building is Joyo. Like, anybody that has watched for the past year, I had even tweeted about it. Just hearing how people say that he has grown, and I loved basically smart mouth Joyo last season, right? He was having so much fun with it. He was just enjoying the spotlight. He was doing a very good job at it. But hearing how much he has grown and matured as a leader is very exciting, and it is somebody that everybody will cling to in the Rocket League community, I feel like. Because we're losing them, right? Especially on the NA side. We've gone through this lull where you don't have your Rizzo anymore. Garrett G hasn't been in the spotlight because NRG's had their rough spots. First Killer was supposed to be that guy, but we haven't seen that come to fruition yet, and hopefully we do someday. I know I talk a lot of smack on him, but I hope he does evolve. Arsenal has come into that role really big, and you got Reddles over on Optic. He's filling that role, so it's there. Just gotta, I don't know. I hate saying time because time is it's not there. It's fleeting. It's gonna just go away. But hopefully, one of them will be able to seize the moment right now. And big fan talking about in chat that NA stars are all imports right now. Yeah, that kind of is a bummer at the moment. But it's more of a wake up call after what Appjack said in the press room. I had even made a tweet about it. If bubble players don't take that as a challenge, like this guy just said that we don't have any talent, that we can't compete. If you don't take this off season as that being a challenge point of we are all going to make sure that Gen G doesn't make it and we're just going to beat them, then NA's chalked. But hopefully there will be a couple of teams and a couple of players that come up and, want to prove that, yeah, we do have talent. Because I think it is there. They haven't, I don't know, they haven't been molded yet for being in that competitive professional scene, right? I think that's the biggest changeover for a lot of NA players, a lot of just NA people in general is taking this from, yeah, I'm just having fun with it, but now you kind of need to take it a little more seriously and figure out what you need to do to improve. So
yeah, I want to switch our gears a little bit here and go back to what Big Fan was saying. Go back to the money part a little bit. He said a good example is Google ads, banner ads on websites. Obviously, depending on the category of the website, you'll get paid differently. The gaming category is the lowest paying because there just isn't enough buying power on average, which...
What does that mean?
It means that kids are too young and they don't have disposable income. The kids
Bam.
that are playing this game, the kids that are watching the game, the kids that are targeted by the content creators, they don't have disposable income. They don't have the ability to spend money, so the ads aren't going to create anything. The eyeballs that get on them are non-converting. It's tire kicking. There's so many different business words that we can use, but that's what it is. And that's a really good point because I can't imagine spending dollars as a 16, 17-year-old kid on things like that, right? Like that's just the way it is.
Well, like last year at Worlds, the big sponsor was Ford, right? They had a Ford Bronco down there, a Ford Mustang. Ford was everywhere. But if you looked around the arena, nobody in there is buying a brand new Ford off the lot. The people that were is a small majority of us that were there as dads who've been out in the world for a little while. Most of everybody else there, they're like, that's a cool car. But that's not Ford's not getting an immediate return on investment from that ad. So what advantage is it to Ford right now? None whatsoever. I would almost think,
what benefit did they have putting their cars in the game besides
right?
I mean, I don't see a lot of licensed stuff, obviously, when you're playing ranked or when you're in the pro scene or any of those. You don't see those vehicles being used, and maybe
except when Joyo pulls out. Except when Joyo pulls out the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting all these eyeballs, but are they converting? Are they converting to something? And that's what sponsors are going to look for. They're going to look for return on their investment.
As Prop says, same with Mobile One, engine oil, and Ally Banking. I mean, I don't see anybody in the majority of the community right now going and opening a checking account with Ally Bank. But like, I'm more shocked, I think, that they haven't grabbed like a sponsor like Monster. I don't know if it's a moral thing or whatnot, but I feel like Monster would be an easy kill on like getting people. Like, could you imagine the Monster sales if you put Rocket League promo codes on there? I would be in heaven because I drink way too much Monster. My heart's probably going to explode one day, but and, but maybe that's and that might be why they're not going with sponsors like that. They have a moral mindset of we don't want to influence kids to get hooked on that. But at the same time, at some point, you're going to start losing. You're not going to have any ad revenue. I'm so curious to see what is going to happen in this next 5 months and how long they're going to wait to give us any information.
Okay, so Worlds is over, right? Like we're sad. We watched it. It was a 2-week event that I enjoyed thoroughly to see a bunch of teams.
Love it.
And I thought that was great, especially for a fan who has the ability to watch it at those times. Like I'm on the West Coast, right? So 6 a.m. I wonder what the the viewer base is that's getting up for those midweek games, those Wednesday, Thursday type of games. I was up, I was watching them, but that doesn't mean everybody was. I really enjoyed it, but now it's over, and we have to wait till how long before we get to see the ramp up of the fall? When is fall? Is there going to be a fall?
Is there going to be a fall?
Are they switching
right
from
now
from 3 splits to 2?
to only 2, which I feel like is the right move because the last 2 years has been a lot of Rocket League. And for a casual person, that's a lot to try and digest and keep up with. Which at this point, that's who they have to sell the product to is the casual fan, right? The NFL doesn't run for 3/4 of the year; it runs for a quarter of the year, and then it's
so 1 day a week,
and then it's NBA, yeah, something. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what ends up coming from it, and how what the plan is going to be.
time to optimize.
Do we get the somewhat flavor of a what is it, of franchising, something that makes it a little more interesting for the orgs to stick around? Because I don't know, I feel like we're teetering on orgs just leaving, which I don't know if that would necessarily be a bad thing at this point, if they're going to keep doing the tournament style the way they're doing it, because it's ran by the players anyways. But I know the players would like to have that stability, so they have to make it sexy to the org at some point in some shape or fashion. But yeah, can you imagine? Like we're about to go possibly 5 months without anything after coming off that 2-week just nonstop Rocket League action.
So what do we get in the interim? What's the draw to being a top level pro in the Rocket
So
League
you
scene
have
for the next 5 months? I mean, in the off season of sports, they have nothing. Sometimes they have to build storylines. Baseball has winter meetings, and they have drafts, and they have things to try and keep you engaged a little bit. But what are we going to get here? What do the players got to do for that amount of time?
It's going to be community tournaments. It's going to be Gamers 8. Gamers 8 is coming up, so that's not RLCS official Rocket League, but that is going to be an exciting tournament where it's crew battles, right? So you have your options for 1v1s, 2v2s, and your 3v3s. That when does that happen? That happens in like the next couple of weeks, doesn't it?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Trying to get my bearings right on it. Gamers 8 2023. Start date is
The
August 24th.
Yeah. 10 days.
So that's next week, yeah.
So pretty good teams
that'll be
invited
exciting.
to that.
FaZe is invited to that. So do we see FaZe come back and buckle down and have a very good showing? We got our boys Optic in that. G2 Vitality is there again. V1 is there. Calm, Beast Mode, and Daniel. So like this is going to be another good one, but it's really going to come down to the community tournaments and keeping that hype going into the RLCS season and creating the storylines of who's been hot lately, who's been winning a lot of tournaments, who's floundering right now, but we think that they could change and make things a little better. Big fan in the chat. They definitely need to think about the casual fan for a future format. Even some hardcore fans didn't know when games started at World. The 2-hour change sometimes. A big fan, that's something that I've talked about a lot on here on the pod. I got a buddy that is the casual fan. He actually does like keeping up with it, but he's always been one that when it came to like the first the first day of regionals, he'd be like, if I want to watch this team, where do I go? I'm like, oh, yeah, look here and here. And he was like, I just want a central spot to go watch it. Like, yeah, that's probably that's kind of something needs to happen of that sort, because not everybody stays plugged in like we are and wanting to keep up with it. So yeah, format change has to happen. But going forward, if we do have the 5-month break, it's gonna be a lot of community tournaments, and I'm curious to see what community tournaments come up. The draw that had a lot of success. So do we see more tournaments like the draw coming out? We've heard of First Class Esports. They're starting to put on their own tournaments. They got one coming up this weekend with bubble teams. Maybe they're able to grow it enough to where they're able to invite in and make it a little sexier for the bigger name teams to come and play. But yeah, it's going to be, again, as it always has been for Rocket League, the community is going to have to drive it because Psionics just isn't doing it.
The Bucket and Hoosier Invitational. I mean, don't forget about that one.
I mean,
yeah,
that might be the thing.
There's potential everywhere, but someone has to turn it on, right? And we've seen some of the higher level community members do so. We've seen some of the other places do it, but what's it take? Does it take money? Does it take resources? Like, what's the draw for the players? And then you have to have the production behind it, because that's important. It's hard to find the games or whatever. There's so much that goes into it. It's not just, put the players at the front. It's just not that easy. But yeah, the formatting, I agree. It can get confusing too. What the tournament is for that split and why they're doing this. Is there a perfect format for Rocket League? Is it Swiss? Is it group stages? Is it double elimination? What is it? What's the perfect format? And if there's not one, are there too many right now? Can we condense it down and make it readable? Again, if now I know when I go to Liquipedia or I go to these websites and see stats, I know what to look for. I know where things are. I kind of, have a good eye for it. But when I first started, I had no idea what was happening. It was confusing. There was numbers everywhere and point values and regions and splits and the open and the invitational and the group and you just had no idea where to even start at. And at some point you're like, there's information overload and I can't watch this. I can't pay attention. So I think they just need to, I don't know who they is. It's, again, I've said this before too. Psionics can't be expected to be the game developer and the tournament production, all of it. They're doing it, but that's not their bread and butter. So they probably rely on some other groups of people to help out, or they need to, at least. Some experts.
They do. I mean, yeah, we've seen how it's all community driven. Big fan. If you're working on that, I know Graybeard. He's somebody that I had at one point. We started working on like a script for trying to figure out how to make this stuff better. But there's definitely people in the community. But that's the rough part. It's always the community right now. It's not Psionics doing it, and I think that's what a lot of hardcore fans are starting to almost get tired of, is when is
Psionic's going to do these things. And maybe it's in this 5-month break they're actually able to get their ducks in a row and do those things, because they have also been churning the last 2 years, right? It's been nonstop for them. They've never even had a true off season to where they can restructure things and make it better. So the hope is that they'll be able to do that. They promised a new esports website 2 years ago. Yep, we all remember that. And maybe those are the things they're actually going to be able to buckle down and work on in this 5 months. And maybe that's what we should all hope, right? You look for what could be, not quit looking at the negative side of it.
Yeah, it's easy to look for things that we don't have yet and say, "I wish we had this," right? Like waving your stick in the air. But I
It
still
sounded like the old
think
grandpa in the back.
there's a lot of exciting things around the esport, and to me, it's gonna be not only keeping the current fans happy, but getting more. And they don't have to be hardcore players, right? And that's what I love about
I think
it.
you can have. I think you do actually have a lot of fans, a lot of people that are willing to watch it. They just have to know what the matches mean, because right now when matches come up, it just looks like another video game match. You don't know what's on the line, what's going on, because by the time we got to finals, like it peaked at almost 200,000 views on Twitch, I think.
Yeah,
It was
it's up
up there.
there. I mean, it definitely. I mean, they have what?
And I know
can't-
on
4
YouTube
million.
YouTube was at 14K.
Yeah, I mean they have viewership, but what does that mean for them in the long run? I don't know. There's
Yeah, it's capitalizing on those moments.
there is still like in I just have suggestions, right? Like little things that I see as a fan and as a person who's like, man, they could really capitalize on that. But I had to explain to my family, right? Like how he was able to flip again, or how this happened, or what the management of the boost is happening. Or there's little things that if you don't play the game, you just don't know, right? And they don't ever try to
Wait, what
teach
was
you
it?
that in the production.
No, they did. They did. It was last season.
Yeah.
They did try and do that. They had a thing with, I think, Sunless, where Sunless did some videos in like fall of last season, and they were adding those in there, but they kind of fell off, and I don't know why. I don't know what the reasoning for that would be, but I do remember they did do that before.
Yeah. Big fan saying it was a
So
record breaking year, which is a good sign for viewership. And yeah, that is absolutely, that's what we need in order to continue to help grow the esport. Is the numbers have to keep going higher, right? You're trying to 10x. You're not trying to
and go
stay the
up, up,
same.
up, up, up.
But conversions, right? Does that mean more people are playing the game? Does that mean more people are buying the things that are being advertised to them? What does it mean? Or is it just
What does it all mean?
watching? I don't know.
We need. We need a. It's like what they do with the stock market, right? So companies have to come out every so often and give their quarterly earnings and reports. We need that from Twitch at the end of this year as to what were they, or like where did we see growth? At least for the hardcore fans, right? That's what we want to know. Where are we growing at? Where aren't we growing at? And what's the vision forward? So I really hope if it is a 5-month break, we get to that point.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So,
There's a lot to unpack. I think over the off season, and a lot of nooks and crannies. I think we can go down, and that's the good part, right? We've figured out a way to not rely heavily on just that there were games this weekend, right? There's a lot of people
correct.
out there already analyzing content or allowing for people to interact with what happened over the weekend or whatever. And I'm all for that. Like, let's run through it, but that's not the bread and butter for where we are. I want to know where people started. I want to know how they got to what they're doing. I want to know what's innovative happening, the mental game stuff that we've done. What's next? What is in the past? Where can we learn things? I just want to dig into the nooks and crannies of Rocket League. And I think that's what we're gonna do for the next 5 months here personally on our show, is kind of bring those things out. So if you have any suggestions on people or one of my cards or orgs or whatever to talk to about that kind of stuff and get their stories, like we want to hear them. We want to be told. We want to learn all the ins and outs of what's happening around Rocket League and RLCS and the game in general. So that's our plan.
100%. Yeah. If you got people you want to hear from or a topic you want to see if we can find out more information on, easiest way to get a hold of us, Mr. Hoosier _ on Twitter and Sire Bucket on Twitter. But yeah, we love to hear from people and always looking for things to dive into. As we wrap up though, Bucket, we have a fun little announcement. We already talked about them. First Class Esports, new org that has just come onto the Rocket League scene, and they have their team for next season already, which a lot of names that people should already be familiar with if you have been paying attention to the bubble scene. But they are coming online, and it's 5UP, Buffy, and Deck. That's a good team that we've been following for a while. Fantastic players. But what's more exciting is the org that they just signed to, new established org, First Class. They are hosting a bubble scene tournament this Sunday, and
I don't think they're hosting it. Are they?
I think it's gonna be. Is it gonna be on theirs or ours? I think it's gonna be on theirs.
No, I mean we're gonna stream the
Are we
team.
just streaming their team?
Yeah. So the
Oh, see, look, I was already wrong.
The org got permission for us to join the lobbies from the,
hot
the
damn.
tournament organizer. Yeah. So bubble scene tournament this weekend. We're gonna be on Sunday streaming on First Class's First Class's
so we'll do their team
Twitch.
stream. Yes, so we will be doing their team stream. Yep, big fan. You're right. Shout out to Coach Jesu. He has been doing awesome with that team. But yeah, we are
They're making
honored
waves
to,
out there, man. They're beating teams. I watched. I was just telling you about that. I was in Forky, which their space hoodie now with Mizu and Preston. I think.
Yeah, they beat them, didn't they?
They beat them in a tournament, and it's like a weekly tournament. They've been winning a lot of those weekly tournaments. They've been making waves in the draw tournament. They've really got something going over there. Not only did they find some really good players individually, they created a good atmosphere over there with, as fans said, Jesu just rocking it. And now that they've got a little org under their belt and they're trying to build something over there. And this is what I'm talking about. It's like, you know what, if it's not already there and I can't be invited to it, like I'm just going to go build it. And that's what they're doing. Right. And I love that. So
yep.
I think not only because we were, fortunate enough to know some of these guys beforehand, but we like what they got going on. So we want to throw our hats in there, and they said, hey, come on board and check us and help us grow the first time. So we're going to go over there and help them out and cast. We started off as casters, if you don't know, together.
We did.
And
yeah, so if you don't have anything going on Sunday, be sure to tune into twitch.tv/First Class, and we will First Class _ Esports. And you'll see our faces on there. Hopefully not our faces too much. We want to see the gameplay, but you'll at least hear our voices going and rooting on the boys. And
yeah, baby.
Hopefully it's a good showing.
Should be fun.
Yeah,
man.
Bucket, you got anything before we go?
No, I just want to say I just really enjoyed 2 weeks of Rocket League. Like that's kind of how I want to digest the Worlds. It was a lot of fun to be able to watch so much action all together, and I'm gonna miss it. But again, we've been analyzing our podcast, right? Like this live stream that we do is super fun, and I love interacting with people. But we take it and we package the audio up and we put it all across the internet onto just audio formats, because so many people were saying, man, we can't be there on Monday nights, or it's a different time zone, or that's my kid's bedtime, or I'm playing games at that time, or whatever. The live streaming thing is one, but if you can go put it out on content. So we started analyzing all the videos and then the podcast, and the numbers for the podcast, the ones that really hit it are the ones with super interesting backstories of people who have really robust like things to talk about, or stories, or where they are now or where they were. I'm talking like the mental coach stuff, the coach stuff, Raw Greg. Some of these things were just so interesting to people that the numbers just blew up, and that's what we're looking for. So we want to get the word of other people out there and help other people grow, but also, why is this esport here? Where did it come from? Where's it going? Like, I'm excited for that stuff. So that's the next 5 months.
I
know
am
said
too.
it before, but
We got
important.
and we have some people in the queue. We're just working out schedules right now, so we can't wait to have those announcements for you all.
Some big
Hopefully
ones
here
too.
soon. But from Buckin and I, we hope you guys have a good morning, good night, good afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, and we will catch you all next time. Have a good one, guys.